I didn't notice the storm crawling into my life until the night Serena came home smelling like a place I'd never been. It was faint, almost sweet, like an expensive cologne, clinging to her hair, her scarf, the spaces between us when she brushed past me without a glance. It should have been nothing. Should have been the kind of thing you forget by morning. But it sat with me, heavy and wrong, a puzzle piece from the wrong box shoved into my life. We weren't fighting. There were no slammed doors, no screaming matches echoing down the hall. No. Serena and I had perfected something much more poisonous. We smiled too much, spoke too little, and filled our silences with small, forgettable lies. She would leave her wine glass half-finished on the kitchen counter, hum a nameless tune as she slipped into the bedroom, her phone flashing from some hidden conversation she never mentioned. I didn't need to see the screen to know it wasn't work. Work doesn't make you laugh in the dark when you think no one's listening. 2 nights later, I found myself outside the Bistro Venti, the overpriced restaurant Serena once called too pretentious for us, watching through the rain-blurred windows as she leaned in across a candlelit table toward a man I didn't know. He wasn't touching her. He didn't need to. The way she smiled at him, tilted her head just enough to invite more, it was a conversation made entirely of glances and secrets. She hadn't smiled at me like that in a year. I didn't confront her that night. I stood there, soaked through, hands shoved deep into my pockets because if I didn't, I was afraid I'd punch through the glass. I watched her tap her manicured nails against her wine glass, watched the man, mid-30s, gym body, expensive watch, lean closer. I memorized everything, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear like a shy teenager, the way she laughed too loudly at something he whispered. Things she hadn't done with me since. God, I couldn't even remember. I went home. I stripped off my wet clothes, threw them in the laundry basket like it mattered, and stared at the ceiling for hours, listening to the clock count out the death of my marriage in slow, cruel seconds. At 2:17 a.m., the front door clicked open. Light footsteps. A whiff of unfamiliar cologne. I lay still as she tiptoed past the bedroom, headed straight for the bathroom. The faucet ran, probably brushing away the night from her lips, her skin, her sins. She crawled into bed without a word. Slid her body next to mine, cold and distant. I closed my eyes. Pretended to sleep. I didn't touch her. In the morning, Serena made coffee, humming again, wearing the same scarf she'd worn last night. She placed a mug in front of me, smiled, kissed my cheek lightly, a mechanical habit, and asked if I needed anything before she left for her early meeting. I said no. I watched her leave, watched the door click shut behind her, and stayed seated long after the coffee went cold. Something had broken, and I wasn't sure if it was her or me. I didn't know it yet, but today would be the day I finally stopped pretending. Today, I would stop being the fool standing outside in the rain. I was going to tear the truth out of hiding, no matter how deep she tried to bury it. And God help her, she wasn't going to be ready for what I had planned. The plan came together in less time than it takes to boil water. I called in sick to work, ignoring the sympathy in my boss's voice. I wasn't sick. Not in the way he meant. I was infected with the truth that demanded blood. Not violence, no. Something sharper. Smarter. I spent the morning combing through our shared laptop, the one Serena always said she never used anymore. Maybe she believed that lie. Maybe she thought I had stopped being curious. Stopped being a man who noticed the sudden gaps in her stories. The new passwords she slipped onto devices she once left wide open. She wasn't careful. Cheaters rarely are when they think you're blind enough to love them anyway. It didn't take much. The browser history was a graveyard of hidden dates. Reservations at hotels, obscure meetup cafes, places she and I had never set foot in together. Some of the emails were even saved, little breadcrumbs left in the trash folder, careless and smug. And there it was. His name, Nathan Cole, personal trainer. Of course. Serena always laughed at the gym rats, used to mock the Instagram models who filmed themselves squatting for clout. Now here she was paying for private sessions. Sessions that turned into drinks. Drinks that turned into overnight networking events she never could quite explain. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Anger is clean. Anger is simple. What I felt was uglier. Heavier. Like wet concrete poured into my chest, hardening with every new message I read. Last night was insane. You drive me crazy. Can't wait to see you again. XX, miss the way you tasted after that wine. I closed the laptop carefully as if slamming it would make me more guilty than they were. Serena wasn't home. She had left in a rush, laughing, hair twisted into a fake messy bun she only wore when she wanted to seem effortlessly sexy. I knew where she was going. Another early client meeting. Another lie wrapped in a pretty scarf and red lipstick. The part of me that loved her, that built a life with her, that imagined children and growing old together, that part died in silence. No funeral. No ceremony. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to scream at her or throw dishes or cry into a pillow like some cliché she could roll her eyes at. No. Serena deserved something else. Something she'd feel in the pit of her stomach every time she thought she won. I slipped the engagement ring she once cried over, tears I now knew were probably rehearsed, off the dresser where she carelessly tossed it every night. I placed it in a black velvet box, sealed it, and slid it into the inner pocket of my jacket. Tonight, she would go out. Tonight, she would meet him. Tonight, while she laughed at the bar with her lover, I would send the ring. What followed would leave her shattered and the whole place in stunned silence. I didn't know it yet, but that would just be the beginning. Because when you set a liar's world on fire, you don't just burn the house down. You watch who tries to save what's left. I didn't text her all day. That alone would rattle her. Serena lived off attention the way plants needed sunlight. No good morning message, no checking about dinner, no good luck at your meeting, babe. Silence. A black hole opening inside the routine she'd gotten so comfortable twisting around her little lies. I spent the day preparing, moving through the house with a strange calm. I boxed up framed photos, the ones of our vacations, our fake laughing poses, her leaning against me like I was enough. I packed them tight, taping the cardboard shut like I was locking away a bad dream. I didn't smash them. That would have been too easy. Let her see their neat absence. Let her feel the emptiness she carved into this place. By late afternoon, I was parked a block away from Vino 9. A sleek, dim bar Serena used to call desperate when other women posted their drinks there. Funny how fast desperation becomes convenience when no one's watching. She showed up in a tight black dress. Hair curled just enough to say I didn't try too hard, but every inch of her screaming look at me. Nathan was already waiting inside, his posture loose, predatory. He kissed her cheek too familiarly, his hand lingering at the small of her back. She giggled, actually giggled. I should have felt rage. I should have wanted to burst in there and drag her out by her betrayal. But what filled me instead was a cold satisfaction so pure it nearly made me smile. I opened the velvet box one last time. Looked at the ring. That stupid, glittering thing I'd spent 3 months' salary on once. Feeling like I was buying a future. I slid it into an envelope with a note so simple it would hit harder than any screaming ever could. Give this back to whoever you think deserves it. I handed the envelope to the bartender with a crisp bill. Told him it was a surprise gift for Serena. Describe her? Oh, no need, I said. She's the one who looks like she owns the place. From the corner table, I watched. He approached their booth. The envelope balanced carefully on his tray between 2 glasses of overpriced champagne. Serena laughed. That bright, fake laugh. Until the bartender gently placed the envelope in front of her. She frowned. Nathan leaned in, smirking, whispering something about secret admirers. Serena opened it. For one glorious second, she didn't move. Her face drained of color. She stared into the velvet blackness like it was a grave. Then she snapped her head up, searching the room, panic cracking through her perfect mask. She knew. She knew I was here. Her mouth opened to call out. Maybe my name, maybe an excuse already forming on her tongue. But nothing came. The laughter around them faltered. Heads turned. Nathan looked confused, then suspicious. His hand dropped away from her as if her skin had burned him. Serena shoved back from the table, the chair scraping loud against the floor, her heels stumbling. She clutched the envelope like it could shield her from what she'd done. I stood slowly from my seat in the corner, meeting her eyes across the room. No smile, no anger, just the quiet certainty she had never seen before. The man she thought she could outsmart didn't exist anymore. I left him behind this morning, with the cold coffee and the dead photographs. I turned and walked out. Didn't rush. Didn't look back. Behind me, in that stunned, silent bar, Serena finally started to cry. And still it wasn't over. Because exposing the lie was only the first cut. Now, I was going to make sure she felt every inch of the blade that I didn't go home that night. Not because I was scared of her. No, that part of me, the part that clung to some pathetic hope of fixing things, had already been buried under that bar's sterile lights and the weight of her fake tears. I stayed in a cheap hotel instead, the kind with scratchy sheets and walls thin enough to hear your neighbor coughing through the night. Felt fitting. Like the kind of place you go when you're starting from absolutely nothing. My phone blew up around midnight. First came the calls. Serena, Serena, Serena. Then the texts. Where are you? We need to talk. This isn't what you think. I can explain. Please. You're blowing this out of proportion. It didn't mean anything. Every word like a frantic slap against a locked door. I stared at the screen as it buzzed violently across the cheap bedside table, throwing long, ugly shadows against the wall. I let it ring. I let her beg. I let her taste the silence she'd been feeding me for months. In the morning, I went back to the house. She was already there, pacing the living room in last night's dress, her makeup smudged at the corners of her eyes. If she thought looking disheveled would trigger sympathy, she was even dumber than I gave her credit for. She rushed me the second the door clicked shut. Please, Caleb, you're misunderstanding everything, she blurted, her voice cracking in that fake way she'd probably rehearsed in the mirror. It was a mistake, a stupid, stupid mistake. It didn't mean anything. I dropped my bag at my feet and looked at her, really looked and saw her for exactly what she was. Not the girl I'd fallen for years ago. Not the woman I thought I'd grow old beside. Just a hollow shell scrambling to patch holes in a sinking ship. How long? I asked. Calm. Deadly. Her mouth opened. Closed. She stumbled. 3 months, she finally said, too fast. Too rehearsed. I laughed once, sharp, joyless. Try again. Serena's face crumpled like she might actually sob. 6, she whispered. But it didn't mean anything, Caleb, it was just. I don't know, I felt trapped, I needed to feel alive again. Alive? I cut her off. You needed him to remind you you're breathing? You needed him so badly you threw away everything we built? Her hands fluttered up like she might reach for me, but even she seemed to know better. She dropped them helplessly at her sides. You were so busy, she said, her voice rising. Always working, always tired. You stopped noticing me, Caleb. You stopped making me feel wanted. I didn't plan for this to happen. There it was. The knife disguised as an apology. It wasn't her fault. It was mine. I had made her cheat. I stepped closer, close enough that she flinched. I lowered my voice to a whisper, slicing each word with precision. I didn't stop noticing you. I stopped recognizing you. Serena broke. Real tears this time. Maybe for me, maybe just for the life crumbling around her feet. I can fix this, she pleaded. We can fix this. I stared down at her. This stranger who wore my wife's face, and realized the most brutal truth of all. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she got caught. The suitcase was already packed. I grabbed it from the hallway without another word. She screamed my name as I closed the door behind me. But I didn't stop. I didn't even slow down. Let her scream. Let her tear the house apart trying to erase what she'd done. It wouldn't save her. Because I wasn't just leaving. I was about to show her what losing everything really looked like, that I didn't just walk away from the house. I walked straight to a lawyer. It was early, barely 9, but I needed the next steps moving before Serena even figured out how deep this blade would sink. I wanted her blindsided. I wanted her to feel the walls closing in the same way she had boxed me into lies and pity. The office was clean, clinical. No smiles. No false comforts. Perfect. The lawyer, Mr. Turner, listened without interrupting as I laid it all out. Every filthy detail. He tapped his pen once against the desk, leaned back, and said exactly what I needed to hear. You want fast? We can do fast. You want painful? We can do painful. I chose both. Turner drew up the divorce papers with a precision that almost made me admire him. No mercy. No loopholes. Serena wasn't just losing me. She was losing the house, the accounts, the car she drove to meet her precious Nathan. It turned out adultery still mattered in this state if you had enough evidence. And I had plenty. While Turner worked, I went a step further. I contacted the gym where Nathan trained. Funny thing about places like that, appearances matter a lot when you're trying to sell an image of discipline, loyalty, and trustworthiness to desperate housewives and midlife crisis cases. I didn't even have to push hard. Just a few screenshots sent anonymously to the gym owner, a carefully worded note about inappropriate conduct with married clients, and Nathan's shiny world started cracking too. By the time noon hit, Serena called again. I didn't answer. I let her rot in her uncertainty, feeding on the silence she once weaponized against me. Around 2, she showed up at my hotel, banging on the door like the building was on fire. I opened it just enough to see her hair wild, makeup smeared, desperation leaking off her in waves. "Caleb, please," she gasped. "We can work through this. I love you. I made a mistake. It was stupid. It was meaningless." "Meaningless?" I echoed, voice flat. "Yes," she cried. "It was nothing. It didn't change how I feel about you." I stepped fully into the doorway, let her see the packed bag at my feet, the car keys already swinging from my hand. "It changed everything," I said. She reached out, grabbing my wrist, nails digging in a little, panic giving her a strength I didn't think she had. "I'll do anything," she whispered. "Please, just tell me what you want." For a heartbeat, I looked at her, really looked. The girl who once swore she'd stand by me through anything, now standing there shattered by her own hand. I leaned closer, breathed the words right into her shaking world. "I want you to remember this moment for the rest of your life." Then I peeled her fingers off my wrist, one by one, with calm that made her shrink back like I was the monster. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it quietly. Final. On the other side, she sank against the wall and sobbed. But I was already gone. Gone not just from her, but from the version of myself that ever thought her love was worth crawling for. And deep down, Serena knew it. For the first time in her life, she wasn't in control. And the real punishment hadn't even started yet, that I didn't answer when Serena kept texting through the night. She switched tactics the way liars always do, from begging to blaming to fury. "You're being dramatic. You're throwing away everything for nothing. Maybe if you were a real man, this wouldn't have happened." There it was, the real Serena, clawing through the sweet apologies, ugly and desperate when she realized the pity act had failed. I turned off my phone without replying, because while she melted down in that house, I was already building a life where her name would be nothing more than a cautionary tale I told over a drink. The next morning, Turner called. "The papers are ready," he said. "All you have to do is deliver them." I smiled for the first time in days. I could have mailed them, sure. I could have let a courier do it, clean and distant. But Serena deserved to see the end coming with her own eyes. She deserved the courtesy of knowing she wasn't slipping away quietly. She was being cut out. Clean. Final. Witnessed. I didn't warn her. I just drove to the house, our house, and walked up the front steps like I still belonged there. She opened the door faster than I expected, like she'd been hovering on the other side. Her face lit up, a glimmer of stupid, hopeful relief flashing across her features. Maybe she thought I'd come back. Maybe she thought the crying and screaming had worked. Poor, deluded Serena. I handed her the envelope without a word. She took it, frowning, hesitating. Her fingers trembled slightly as she unfolded the papers inside. Watching her read them was better than any revenge fantasy I could have dreamed up. Her mouth dropped open. Her eyes darted over the bold black letters, the demands, the house, the car, the accounts, all pulled cleanly out from under her like a magician yanking a tablecloth. "No," she said, shaking her head. "No, Caleb, you can't do this." "I already did," I said. She blinked as if she could somehow unsee it. Her hands shook so badly she dropped the papers onto the floor. "You're serious?" she hissed. "You're ending us because of one mistake?" "You ended us," I said, voice steady. "The night you let him put his hands on you." She stepped closer, eyes wide with rage and something even worse, fear. You think you're going to find better than me? She sneered. You think women are lining up for a boring, safe little man like you? There it was. Her real face. The venom she always kept tucked behind fake kisses and practiced tears. I leaned in slightly, lowering my voice so she couldn't mistake a single word. I don't need to find better, Serena, I said. I already became better the second I stopped loving you. Her mouth opened, maybe to slap me with another insult, maybe to cry again, but I was already turning away. She screamed something behind me. I didn't catch it. I didn't care. I walked down the steps, feeling lighter with every footfall, leaving her standing barefoot in the doorway, clutching crumpled divorce papers like a death notice. And when I reached the sidewalk, I didn't even look back. Because I knew something Serena would spend years learning the hard way: when you betray someone who loved you beyond reason, you don't just lose them. You lose the part of yourself that was ever worth saving. I thought that would be the end of it. I thought handing her those papers, walking away without a backward glance, would be enough to slam the door shut on whatever pathetic hold Serena still had over my life. I underestimated her. The first sign came 2 days later when I stopped by the bank to finalize the account splits Turner had arranged. The clerk frowned at the screen, clicking through pages. Looks like there was a significant withdrawal yesterday, Mr. Davis, she said carefully. From the joint account. I leaned over the counter. How much? When she told me the number, I laughed out loud, sharp, disbelieving. It wasn't just a few hundred for gas or groceries. Serena had cleaned out nearly half of what was left. She must have raced to the bank the second she realized I wasn't bluffing. Some pathetic, last-ditch grab at power, like stealing furniture from a burning house. It didn't matter. Turner was already filing an injunction. She'd have to pay back every cent and then some when the court was through with her. But still, it showed me just how deep her spiral had gone. This wasn't the woman I'd married. This wasn't even a woman. It was a drowning rat, claws out, trying to drag anything down with her that she could still reach. Later that night, I got a message from an unknown number. No name. No pleasantries. Just one sentence: you think you won. You have no idea what's coming. At first, I thought it was Nathan, some pathetic attempt to scare me, to flex after losing his side piece and probably his job. But deep down, I knew it wasn't him. It was Serena. She wasn't just lashing out blindly anymore. She was planning something. Good. Let her. Because what Serena didn't know was that I wasn't playing defense anymore. While she scrambled and thrashed, trying to undo the unraveling, I was making sure every move she made only tied the noose tighter around her own neck. The next morning, Turner filed a motion to freeze the remaining joint assets. The house? Already flagged for immediate sale, proceeds going entirely to me once her breach of trust got factored into the settlement. Her car? In my name. Her credit cards? Revoked. Her new life with Nathan, the life she threw everything away for, was about to be a series of bus rides and cheap motels. She could flirt her way out of a drink, but she couldn't flirt her way out of a judge's ruling. By the end of the week, Serena had gone from flashing diamond rings and designer bags to dragging garbage bags of her clothes into her sister's dingy one-bedroom apartment. I didn't have to gloat. I didn't have to send a single message. Her silence was enough. Because for the first time, Serena had nothing to hide behind. No charm. No lies. No Nathan. Oh yes, Nathan dumped her the moment the gym fired him. Turns out his promises were about as real as her loyalty. And still, I wasn't finished. Because what Serena feared most wasn't losing money or reputation or even her shallow little lifestyle. It was being forgotten. Being nothing. And I was going to give her exactly that. Serena didn't go quietly. She couldn't. People like her, they don't know how to fade out. They only know how to scream louder when no one's listening. It started with the calls. Dozens a day. New numbers each time. I never answered. She left voicemails, swinging between sobbing apologies and furious threats, her voice cracking under the weight of her own panic. I saved every single one. Then came the accidental run-ins, places she knew I went, coffee shops, grocery stores, even my gym. She'd show up wearing tight smiles and desperate makeup, pretending it was all coincidence. Like I'd see her standing there, alone and crumbling, and somehow forget everything. At first, I ignored her. But she made a mistake. One night, just past midnight, there was a pounding at my hotel door. Not knocking, pounding. Fist against wood, rattling the cheap frame. I didn't have to look through the peephole to know it was her. Caleb. She screamed. I know you're in there. You owe me a conversation. I stood on the other side of the door, heart calm, hands steady. Owe her? I owed her nothing but my absence. I didn't open the door. Instead, I picked up my phone and started recording. Every word. Every threat. You can't leave me like this. You can't just throw away everything we had. You'll regret this, Caleb, you'll see. You'll come crawling back, and when you do, I won't be here. The irony almost made me laugh. She was the one who burned the bridge to ash. She was the one standing in the wreckage, choking on smoke, too proud to admit she struck the match. Eventually, hotel security showed up, and they escorted her out. Heels clicking furiously across the hallway tiles. One last performance for a non-existent audience. I watched from the window as she climbed into a battered sedan I didn't recognize. Not her car. She must have sold it or lost it when the insurance payments lapsed. That was when it hit me. Fully, completely. Serena wasn't just losing me. She was losing everything. The image, the lifestyle, the stupid little empire she thought she could build on lies. All of it was crumbling faster than she could slap on another coat of lipstick. And still, she didn't get it. Still, she thought this was about me wanting revenge. She thought if she could just cry hard enough, seduce fast enough, manipulate sharp enough, she could win me back. But there was nothing left to win. I had already left her behind the night I sent that ring back in front of everyone. And now she wasn't a person to me anymore. She was a lesson. A brutal, permanent reminder to never mistake neediness for love again. The next morning, Turner called with the final update. The divorce hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. And with the evidence we had, the screenshots, the bank fraud, the harassment recordings, Serena wouldn't just lose the house. She would lose any shot at clawing back alimony, at dragging me into courtrooms for years, at bleeding me dry from a distance. The judge would see the same thing I now saw every time I thought of her. A woman so desperate to win, she ended up destroying herself. And that was better than any revenge I could have ever imagined. But I wasn't celebrating yet, because there was still one more move to make. One last, clean cut to sever her from my life forever. And when it came, Serena would finally understand the difference between losing a lover and being erased by the man you thought you owned. 2 weeks passed faster than I thought they would. Maybe because every time Serena tried to claw her way back into my life, she only buried herself deeper. Maybe because when you finally stop caring, time stops being heavy. It just moves. The day of the hearing, I didn't wear black. I wasn't mourning anything. I wore a deep navy suit, clean and sharp, a small rebellion against the idea that I was the one being dragged into something tragic. Serena showed up late. Of course she did. She stumbled through the courthouse doors like a storm had chewed her up and spat her out. Her dress hung wrong, too big now, like she hadn't been eating. Her makeup was thick, desperate. Her hair thrown up carelessly, not the effortless perfection she used to master. Nathan wasn't with her. No one was. She walked alone into that courtroom, clutching a worn purse like it could save her from the sentence she was about to hear. When the judge called our case, she didn't even look at me. Turner laid everything out calm, methodical, ruthless. The evidence, the timeline, the financial betrayals, the harassment. Each word like another nail sealing her inside a box she built herself. Serena didn't fight. Not really. She tried briefly to interrupt once, to whimper about emotional abandonment and feeling isolated, but the judge shut her down so fast it was almost surgical. In the end, it wasn't even a contest. I walked out of that courthouse with everything. The house. The accounts. My freedom. And Serena? She was left with her broken reputation, a temporary restraining order warning her to stay away from me, and a future made of ramen noodles and cheap apartments. It was everything she deserved. But I wasn't finished. Later that evening, while she was probably drowning her sorrows in some grimy bar, I did one last thing. Something permanent. I went online and deleted every photo of us that had ever existed. Every trip. Every anniversary. Every fake smile at weddings and parties. Gone. Like we had never existed. I changed my phone number. Deleted old messages. Took down my Facebook account where she used to tag me in cringy anniversary posts to show off a marriage she had already been sabotaging. I made myself invisible to her. No angry texts. No voicemail fights. No status updates for her to stalk in secret. Nothing. A clean erasure. The kind of silence you can't scream your way through. And that's when it hit me, the real victory wasn't taking back the house or the money or even my pride. It was this: Serena was going to have to live with the knowledge that in the end, she didn't just lose me. She lost the version of herself that mattered. The one that someone could have loved forever. And there would be no photos to prove it ever even existed. No proof she was ever the girl she used to pretend to be. Just silence. Just the crushing, endless reality of being nothing to the man who once would have set the world on fire for her. And I would never think of her again. It's strange how quiet life gets when you finally cut out the rot. No sirens. No dramatic music swelling in the background. Just silence. The kind that seeps into your bones and makes everything feel sharper. Cleaner. I moved into a new place a week after the hearing, a small apartment overlooking the river, nothing fancy, nothing polished. I didn't need marble countertops or two-car garages anymore. I needed peace. And peace doesn't come wrapped in square footage. The first night there, I sat on the floor, drinking cheap coffee out of a chipped mug, surrounded by empty walls. And for the first time in what felt like years, I didn't feel lonely. I felt free. Serena tried a few more times, of course. Emails begging for a conversation. Messages through friends. A pathetic handwritten letter left at my office, smudged where her tears had ruined the ink. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Everything she could possibly say had already been shredded by the choices she made months ago, laughing over wine with Nathan while I sat at home, stupidly loyal, stupidly believing. Serena wasn't my tragedy anymore. She was my escape story. People ask sometimes, friends who still don't know the full details, who only heard whispers, if I miss her. If I miss the life we built. And the truth is simple: I don't miss Serena. I miss the man I used to be before her. The man who believed promises meant something. The man who thought loyalty protected you. The man who thought love was enough. But missing him doesn't mean I want him back. He was blind. He was soft. He was the reason she thought she could walk all over me and never face the consequences. That man died the night I saw her smiling across the table at someone else, handing over pieces of herself that were supposed to be mine. I'm not him anymore, and I'm not bitter. Bitterness is a chain you wrap around your own neck. No, I'm grateful. Serena taught me everything I never wanted to know about betrayal, about survival, about becoming someone who could lose everything and still stand up the next day without crumbling. She taught me that sometimes losing someone you love isn't the worst thing that can happen. Sometimes it's the best. If you're reading this because you're where I was, standing in the middle of your life while it burns down around you, hear this. You will survive. Not because you'll forget. Not because it won't hurt. But because you'll remember. You'll remember exactly how it felt to hand someone your heart, watch them spit on it, and realize you didn't die. You lived. You rebuilt. And next time, when someone shows you who they are, really shows you, you'll believe them the first time. No bargaining. No hoping. No saving people who set fire to everything good in you just to warm their own empty hands. I don't hate Serena. Hating her would mean I still carry her with me. And she doesn't deserve that. She deserves exactly what she has now. Nothing. While I have everything she thought I'd never find without her. Myself. Whole. Unshakable. Free.